You worked in the previous government as the former director of youth and development. So you had a lot of interaction with youth matters. Could you explain to us what you think? Because right now, the current unemployment amongst the youth is quite high. And, that's like a ticking time bomb. When you have so many people unemployed, it actually widens that gap between the rich and the poor. What is the way forward? Because we always, during campaigns, this is the youth this, the youth that. Then after, there are no jobs, and it's a blank 5 years of nothing.
I would say we need to manage our expectations as a people, so that we don't end up saying these guys have done nothing. And if you are asked to define nothing, you can't define it. We must be able to put fingers on the statements that we make. We must be data and evidence driven when it comes to what we are saying or what we are promising to do. If I'm promising to do a road, what evidence informed that decision? Therefore, giving the citizen an opportunity to do a marking scheme. If I look at majority of the projects that have been done in this country and go and check them out, they are incomplete. Projects are incomplete because they are not finished. You start Thika Road, you do lanes, you don't do markings. That's an incomplete project. You start an 8-lane road infrastructure, you don't complete drainage. And therefore, it's a matter of time before that infrastructure gets affected because there's lack of drainage. So that is why, to me, I would say we have many projects that are incomplete because they're not finished. You have no pedestrian facilitation on that major highway. You do know that Kenya is a walking nation. So you've done the road. More people are walking than those who are on personal vehicles. So what informs you as a government on an infrastructure? And that is why they would end up being incomplete. We have contractors who would go on site, get paid, and the moment they are paid, the road is left as it is. The accidents that we experience in the country and majority of our roads is a visibility issue. And it's a marking issue. In the sense that you do know that people will be on this road at night. You have no reflectors, you have no reflections, you have no demarcations that are clearly. So people are left to try and figure out what size is my lane. We have poor visibility on those roads. That's what I call incomplete. You did an infrastructure that you did not complete. And we have 1,001 of those kind of projects that are incomplete. And that is an accountability issue. Who's being held accountable for the decisions you make? As a person who was in charge of that project, as a director in the Ministry of Roads and Public Works, what's your responsibility? We have finished a road. Do we have maintenance contracts that are running for over a period of time? You finished the road, you commissioned it, you put a placard, and you left. Nobody ever comes to look at it and say, what is the maintenance plan for the next 4 years?
So our issue is the completion of
accountability. No one is being held accountable for incomplete projects. And you want us to be excited about that?
How do you suggest that accountability should be achieved? Because that's also a big word.
First, as the chairperson of DNA, I would be very mean with giving master plans strategies to a sitting government, because this podcast is live during a different regime, and therefore I will not be an advisor to the president, who has many advisors and who paid them handsomely. I guess that should be their job. But I do know that as DNA, come at the time where we need to give counter strategies and opportunities for a better Kenya, we will share the insights. If you want me to share something, I'll tell you that we have the capability to come up with interventions that make sense. For example, if you're going to do a project, you better give me a plan of beginning to end and give me the value proposition of that plan and give me the impact that it's going to have for the period of that plan. I think that's sufficient for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So my next question is, because of the previous government's taking of loans and loan spiraling, like a lot, we are in a debt trap. And the current government has embarked on austerity measures. And of course the austerity measures are, causing a lot of tension in the country. That's why the finance bill, they reject the finance bill and that kind of a thing. What is the way forward? Because you inherit the previous government, so you are given, problems are pushed, projects are pushed forward. What is the way out for us?
Do you believe that there are austerity measures? I don't.
Well, for the people, yeah.
I don't. And this is why
taxation.
I don't. This is why I don't believe the austerity measures. We do know the salary of a member of parliament. Statistics are available. We do know the salary of our president. We do know the salary scales of civil servants. So we have a base from which we can make informed decisions. Then you have austerity measures to cut down government expenditure of civil servants by reducing the number of tea they take in a week, the number of travels they take as civil servants, and we call that austerity measures. That to me is mockery. Mockery in the sense that when you have a member of parliament every weekend attending funerals, attending social functions, attending empowerment programs and dishing out 20 million every week, then you tell me that the austerity measures?
For the people, maybe, not for the government. The austerity measures are for the people of Kenya, the masses. It's not necessarily the government. Yeah. But you see, we are the ones who feel, the masses are the ones who feel the pinch.
I want to say this. Austerity measures mainly should affect how government spends our money.
Okay.
All right? And that's what austerity measures are, in my understanding. And therefore, we are at a catch-22 where we are saying one thing and doing the opposite. I want to believe that we have sufficient resources that do not require austerity measures.
Okay.
We just need to prudently spend our money and account for it. And we will not need austerity measures.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
We keep throwing these words out there sounding intelligent and everything else and sounding like we're doing something simply because we are covering up stuff. If we spend, Kenya and any government, I'm not sure of any government that has gone down, that has gone bankrupt and shut. I do know corporate firms that have closed shop because business has diminished and decisions have been made for them to shut. I don't remember, I'm not aware of any country that has ever shut. So that means we are resilient as a country. And that means we have sufficient resources as a country. We just need to be accountable with the resources. The people we have trusted and entrusted positions of responsibility need to be accountable to the resources that we've given them, and you will find that we will not need to throw words like austerity measures. When it comes to borrowing, I do not have a problem with anyone borrowing, including even when we start financial conversations, you can't develop without using other people's money. And that is borrowing.
Yes.
Yeah, you borrow some money to grow your business.
Yeah.
So it's important that you borrow responsibly and in a way that you know you can cover it and you can pay back.
Okay.
So it's okay for us to borrow, but responsibly.
Yeah.
What we need to start having a conversation on is what is the cost of that borrowing and what is it doing and what is the return on investment. Then that makes sense. I don't have a problem the president going to China and borrow 3 trillion. If that 3 trillion is going to be invested in a period of 10 years, and we would have finished paying by the 5th year, and we have put mechanisms in place to pay, but that 3 trillion today will open up the country to East Africa trades area, then so be it. And that's okay, that's responsible borrowing. What we are struggling with is borrowing that we do not invest in what we have said we will, and then burdening our children in future to pay for something that they never benefited from.
Okay.
Yes.
When you talk about investing, what we have seen with the current government is the infrastructure, which is a continuation of the previous government, and also like affordable housing. But knowing that Kenya is like an agricultural country and our revenue comes largely from that, or even the manufacturing sector, what kind of investments should we be looking at to get us into another economic level that's not struggling?
That's a very informed question that needs to be directed to our institutions of higher learning. What is the role of research in informing policies in this country? When we talk about infrastructure, what has informed our investment in infrastructure? When we talk about Kenya as an agricultural country, maybe that's what it was 10 years ago. What does the evidence, what does research say about it today? If I go to Western Kenya, where 20, 30 years ago, it was purely a sugar belt, all right? And Mumia Sugar was operating at optimum because there was cane everywhere. Then we liberalized the market and opened more sugar companies around the same sugar belt. And therefore, 7 to 8 milling companies started to struggle over the small sugar belt. And therefore, with time, there was scarcity of raw material for Mumia Sugar to operate, because we have opened Nzoia Sugar Company, we have opened South East Africa Sugar Company, we have opened Moroni, all of them on the same sugar belt. What did we do? We actually spread the raw material to many players, and therefore, with time, we didn't have cane for Mumia Sugar to mill. And therefore, it's not a question of Mumia Sugar as a model did not work. It's because we opened up the area to many players, and therefore there is no raw material for Mumia Sugar to use to give us sugar, and therefore forcing us to import. Or with time, with corruptions and people not being held accountable, the little money that the farmers should have been paid was not being paid on time. And therefore, farmers with time said, you know what, to hell, there's no need for me to wait 9 months not to be paid. Let me stop planting cane. Let me plant maize, which is short time. And in 6 months, I've got my harvest and I can sell my maize elsewhere. So we've basically said, Kenya is no longer producing sugar. So what is the role of higher institutions of learning in providing research and evidence for us to inform the policies we are making? So I wouldn't be quick to say we are an agricultural country. Prove that. When I look at the imports and exports to this country, we import eggs from Uganda, so we are not producing eggs. Maybe what we're producing is for domestic use, but not for export. And so therefore, why would you call yourself an agricultural country? Maybe it's a perception that we have, but it's not informed by evidence. So what I'm challenging us to do, we need to reset this country by getting the institutions of higher learning to give us evidence-based, well-researched and evidence for us to make informed decisions of whether we are investing in our people. Because I'll tell you this, today probably the biggest export we have for Kenya is the people, human capital. The level of education that we have, how well informed we are of world politics, geopolitics, and everything else. And so my biggest export is human labor and not agriculture, because the climatical conditions have changed. Climate change is here with us. So the things that we used to say we have abundance of this, maybe it's not there. So that is what I'm challenging us to do, to review and reset our economic model, where you're not doing things because nimefanya hii barabara kutoka hapa mpaka huko. Who asked you that that is the biggest need that people have?
Yeah, that's true. That's food for thought. But I would imagine that we have enough, not maybe enough, but we have research and development where this data is available.
Let me challenge you on this.
Yeah.
We effected an education model called CBC. And I'm sure from your own understanding, it's madness. It's mayhem. It's why did we leave this education model for this? What informed us? When I look through the CBC model and I look at the master plan of CBC, it was not to be implemented in the way it has been implemented.
Yeah, it's the implementation.
Okay, so therefore, as you say, we have enough policy documents, we have enough evidence to inform us on what we need to do, but we are implementing them wrongly. And that is a leadership issue now.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
It's not that we don't have the policies, it's not that we don't have the master plans. We are not implementing them well. And even when we are implementing them, we are implementing them to serve our short-term needs as a regime.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that requires political goodwill. Genuine people who are in positions of leadership to implement things for the benefit of the people and not themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the research papers have been there since the 70s. So it's not a lack of knowledge, it's maybe a lack of good leadership.
And we also need to update those. We need to update. I mean, I'm a master's student right now at Daystar University, and I can see that sometimes we are operating on archaic documentation and policy frameworks that need to be reviewed because time has changed.
Yes.
Times have